welcome back to What About Remembering Me, everyone. And we are so glad that you are here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So today's episode, we're always talking about self-care, but we're going to be talking about self-care when you are a caregiver. That is absolutely so important. And we have a guest with us today, Dr. Nicole Crawford. So I'm going to punt it over to you to kind of give everybody a background of who you are and why you're here with us today.
All right. Hey, everybody. My background is in academically. I studied aging, I've studied public health and social work. But personally, I've been a caregiver off and on since I was in my 20s. I'm the eldest child on one side with about five others behind me. I'm the eldest grandchild on one side. I was a caregiver for my grandfather when he had cancer, a caregiver for my grandmother after she had some strokes. I was a caregiver professionally. I worked for a company going around other people's houses. I worked at the University of South Florida Memory Disorder Clinic as a clinic coordinator, working with people when they got diagnosis of dementia and working with families who were now thrust into this role of being a care partner or caregiver. And we'll talk about those definitions later. And I am currently I'm tertiary caregiver for my stepmom who lives out of state. So a lot of experience with caregiving in my own life. And I'm a parent. So, that's another caregiver role. And I'm a therapist. So lots of background in that caregiving space.
So, Nicole, Dr. Crawford, what does it mean to be a caregiver? So, I'm thinking, I think caregiver warm and fuzzy, and I get to, give a lot of love and give a lot of snuggles, but it's way deeper than that too as well. So, define for folks, what does it mean to be someone's caregiver?
Well, the words are caregiver. You are providing care to someone else. And I want to pause for a second because not everybody defines themselves as a caregiver.
Okay.
So a lot of people that I've encountered, that's my wife, that's my husband, that's my mom. So they don't see themselves as the term that we call caregiver, but they are actually providing care to someone else. So that makes you a caregiver. And I said the words care partner earlier because at some stages, maybe somebody is still able to do all the things for themselves, but you're just kind of being a guide on the side. So you're their care partner. And some people define themselves that way. I'm not a caregiver yet. I'm their partner in this right now. So that's how some people define caregiver versus care partner. And it's really how you define it and how you embody the role of providing that care. Maybe like for me, I talk to the doctors, I talk to the nurses, I provide support to my brother and my dad. But other than that, I don't have an active everyday role. So you could be a caregiver, but not be somebody who directly has hands on every single day.
Okay. I like what you said earlier when you said that, you're a parent, and it seemed like you were saying that because you're a parent, you're also a caregiver. Like that's kind of like synonymous. So what are some examples of different roles that people might be in that really is being a caregiver?
A nurse, a therapist, a partner, a parent. What else can I think about? When you're the leader of a support circle, you could be a caregiver. So there's different ways and different roles that this title can be attached to. But yeah, as a parent, I'm a caregiver, waking you up and making sure you have food and making sure you're taking care of your responsibilities and you got clothes on your back and things of that nature. So it just depends on where you are at what stage in life. A lot of people in maybe our age range might not be caregivers yet, but might be on the edge of that caregiving role as our parents and our family members are starting to age. So it's defining what that looks like for you.
So I guess, they don't give us a handbook when we have children or when, we step into a parenting role. But I think they have some kind of template out there to say, okay, if you're parenting a child, this is what caregiving is supposed to look like. And, you mentioned, I clothe you, I feed you, I provide you with shelter, I provide you with emotional support to get you to be the beautiful adult, that's contributing to society and a loving, kind person, right? So that they kind of, society kind of throws some things at us. But I think about, some of the roles that you mentioned. We go to school, right, to get the training to become a therapist so we can caregive or a nurse. But caregiving for, I want to say, someone elderly within our community or within our family, I guess life really does not prepare us to say, let us step into that role. So I guess what are some considerations if you're going to step into the role as a caregiver, for someone who is aging or someone that has, a health condition, what are some considerations that we should hold as a caregiver?
If you know that you're going to step into that role, that's one thing. If you're thrust into it, it's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Regardless of whether or not you are thrust or the first thing I would say is you need to check in with yourself. Ask yourself where you are in life and what your capacity is. And then look around at your support system. Who do I have that's around me that I know I can go to for that conversation about how I'm feeling, and I can be honest and vulnerable. These are things you don't really think about. Oh, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be okay. I got this. But do we? And thinking about what's my own financial status and plan? What will I have to contribute to this caregiving role? What am I doing in my career, work life? What will change? Knowing that things will change, especially for women. The majority of caregivers are women. Statistically speaking, that's who does the role. And most of the time, they'll have a family or something else on one side and family members or parents on the other side. So the sandwich generation, we're sandwiched in between two different things that we have to contribute to. So understanding where you are at in life, looking at your physical health. Can I physically care for someone else? Because it takes its toll. And then also realizing I have to have hard conversations with everybody. My time is going to be split between doing this caregiving piece and the other things that I have to do. So what resources do I have available to support the other roles that I have? And even understanding what roles you have in all your other spaces. Am I a leader in this space? What will change for me there? So it's having a lot of hard conversations with yourself to prepare for what's to come. You can't prepare for everything, but I've worked in emergency preparedness. I live with a preparedness mindset. If you can try to plan for something, even some little part of it, then that will help you along the way. Even tapping into the resources in your community, what's out there that might be able to support me as I move on.
So I like how you're saying, and you pointed out a lot of different areas for people to really reflect on as we're either being thrust into the role or we're choosing to walk into that role. What are some mistakes that people make, even if we think about all of this? I'm thinking about myself and things that my aunt has told me, saying, hey, this is what I want to do as I get older. What are some mistakes that I could be making either towards the person that I love or just for myself? Because I'm giving you an example. Like my aunt's like, yeah, I'm going to put myself in a nursing home whenever I feel like it. Is it wrong for me to say, like, that's fine, but you don't get to stay in your city? I'm going to need you either in the city where I'm at, or I need you to go to the city where your sister is at. Like, I'm willing to respect what you're saying, but I can't leave you where you're at if you're going to do that. Like, am I wrong for saying that?
No, you're not wrong for saying that, because you're thinking about the practical piece of, if something's happening and I need to be visiting you, I can't do that from a distance. No one can do that from a distance practically, financially. Now, the struggle is people don't have these things written down. If it's not written, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
I'll say that again. If it's not written, it doesn't exist. One of the pitfalls that we have as caregivers and as people, recipients of care, is that we don't have our wishes written down. We haven't had these hard conversations. So I applaud your aunt for telling you, I'm gonna check myself into some place and I'm gonna be okay. But what if it doesn't happen that way?
Mm-hmm.
So how can we make sure that we know what the steps are? Is there a place? Do you have enough money set aside to pay for this care? Will you be able to get Medicare? Like there's a whole laundry list of questions we should be asking ourselves and other people to prepare for those steps. Now, there's also the piece of, okay, I'm about to be in this role, and it's not being selfish, it's self-care. What do I need to do to make sure I'm not overstepping the boundaries that I have with this person? A lot of times people come into a caregiving role and they lead other people to learned helplessness. They have people stop doing what they can do in order to take control and be able to take care of it, which is a good thing, but we want people to be as independent as possible as long as possible. You can still make the phone calls you need to make to schedule things, that's fine. Just talk to me first. So that way we coordinate our schedules, or here's the calendar of what I got going on. So you can go ahead and make whatever appointments you need. Or you still do your laundry, your dishes and everything else, go for it. I'm not going to do that for you. I'm not going to stop you from living your life and having the quality of life that's possible while I'm helping you in this role.
You know, I want to say, is there like this unspoken like expectation that children are supposed to be the caregivers for their aging parents? Is that the expectation, that the oldest female child is supposed to be the caregiver? What's the rule? How does this work? How do siblings decide?
Ooh, you done hit the button. You hit the button. So there is, I think culturally, there's an unspoken rule in our community that somebody's going to do it. And it's usually going to be the eldest person or the person that's got it most together, which might be that eldest person, might be that eldest daughter. But, you know, that's not how it's supposed to be. There should be a contribution from everyone involved. Now, have I seen that happen? 9, I'll go 7 times out of 10. No, it's usually one person that takes the brunt of most of the responsibility, because somebody can't handle it emotionally, somebody can't handle it mentally, somebody can't handle it physically. But this is also where those hard conversations need to be had ahead of time. I had to tell people in my life, I know what's coming. I know what's going to fall in my lap. Here's what I need you to do to make it easier for me later on.
Okay.
I need you to have XYZ written down so that if something happens, because we're not in the same state, you can help me be ready. And other people in our lives are ready. They know that this is on paper. I have these documents in a flash drive. I can email it to the doctor. There is the unspoken rule, but there's also the idea that everybody can contribute in different ways. So maybe the eldest daughter is the caregiver, but maybe that brother can be the one to pay for transportation to and from the doctor's office, or pay for meals to be shipped to the house, or do the grocery pickup, whatever, have somebody else do it. Or maybe that cousin can be the one to go over to the house and mow the lawn. It's not, diseases don't happen in a silo. It has a ripple effect to every community. Every part of your community is affected when something happens to you. So who can do what, and even thinking about in the list of things, who are the people that I know I can count on for going to pick up groceries, helping my husband or my wife or my family to take me to the doctor, or pick up what I need from the pharmacy on their way home if they live in my community, or check the mail, or help me keep my yard up, or come to my apartment, 20 stories up and bring me what I need that has been delivered downstairs. Who are the people that I can count on?
It's a village.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I think we've been talking a lot in this podcast of creating your village.
Yes.
But I want to say, for the person who is watching this, who doesn't necessarily have a village, and they feel as if, oh my goodness, things are becoming more and more challenging, and I don't have anybody to tap into. And they're kind of like at a crossroad to determine, like, what is this next phase of life going to look like, for me? What advice would you give for them if they're the person who knows they're going to need some caregiving, but they don't know which direction, to necessarily turn? The family might not be there, or the social support might not necessarily be there. What words of encouragement would you offer to them?
Regardless of your situation, you are not alone. There's somebody else out there going through the same thing. So talk to people. You never know what a conversation can bring up. It might be talking to that neighbor that you've been reluctant to tell, you know what, I got some physical health things going on. It might be that person at the grocery store who you see every single time you go to the grocery store. It might be the person who delivers your meals. People who deliver meals on wheels and things of that nature, they know resources, they're connected. Right. They might be able to tap you into something. So it's not just that you're alone, but you have people that you may not think could be part of your support system. The postal person is connected to something. The person that delivers your mail can be a resource for you. So it's thinking outside of the traditional, I don't have family, I don't have friends, because there's plenty of older adults, there's plenty of adults in this world who don't have family, who aren't connected to people, but we can find ways to connect. Who do you know in your digital world that might be able to provide a resource? Oh, I know somebody who lives not too far from you that can tell you something about a resource there. So I don't want to sit here and say that everything's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy all the time, but everything doesn't have to be hard if we have a conversation. Sometimes it's just as simple as talking to somebody and being vulnerable for a few minutes, even though we might not want to, simply because of the fact that this is our personal stuff. I don't want to tell somebody personal stuff. Well, sometimes you got to get personal in order to get what you need. So it's a double-edged sword. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to be able to allow ourselves to just use what we have, which is our words. If you can't say it verbally, write it down, write somebody a note, send somebody a letter, send an email. You could even reach out to somebody in the city council, in your mayor's office, at the local Department of Aging Services. These people exist for a reason, and these services exist for a reason. So we need to think outside of our direct zone and our direct circumference of people and see what else is out there.
So I'm hearing you talk a lot about preparation, and I've talked to different people. I've had one person reach out to me from my church that was taking care of her husband while he was going through sickness. And literally, she reached out because she listened to one of our podcasts and was like, my doctor just wrote me a prescription for self-care. So I was like, wow, that was like awesome. And she's like, so I need to find a therapist because I guess I need to talk because like I've been doing all of this. So what does somebody do that's there taking care of a loved one? Because it could be for a short period of time, or it could be for an extended period of time. But what should they be doing so that they hopefully don't get to that place where their doctor's like, you're at your wit's end and I need to write you a prescription for this? Like, what can people be doing for themselves as they're going through this process with a loved one?
Don't forget yourself. Just because you're caring for somebody else doesn't mean you get to forget yourself. Just because you're caring for somebody else who needs your attention all the time. Listen, I've been there. I have friends who have been there. I'm thinking about one person in particular who was working, was caregiving, was wifing, and the siblings weren't involved, and they had to do it all. And they wound up because of the limits on their time, they started getting sick themselves. In their late 40s and stuff like that. And sometimes we can't reverse things that start to happen, but you have to make the time. If you got to take your loved one with you, if you have to find a way to barter with somebody for somebody to sit with your loved one while you go to the doctor for those 2 hours, you have to do it. It is of the utmost importance to take care of yourself in the midst of taking care of somebody else. So, and you also have to define what self-care means. it doesn't have to be I'm going to the spa to get my nails done. It could be turning off all of the things in the house, maybe closing the door and sitting in the bathroom with a cup of tea. That might sound crazy, but that might be the only space where you can get some time. Sit in a dry tub with a cup of tea. Turn the water on, get in. Or watching your favorite cartoon, TV show, something that will make you laugh or bring you joy. Reading a Bible verse, pulling out pictures, looking at old, cards that somebody may have sent you, finding ways to release all of the things that are within, all of the things that you're storing up because you're caring for somebody else needs to be released also. It's not easy. Like knowing that, okay, I only have 5 minutes, but take advantage of those 5 minutes. We have to take care of ourselves. As a parent, we do it. I forget sometimes that I'm supposed to be doing something for myself because I'm constantly taking care of my child. Or I'm taking care of my partner, or my family member called at 11 o'clock at night. So my sleep is disrupted because now I'm dealing with the situation and it's on my brain. So I'm not going to go to sleep well. Unless it's life or death, don't call me after 9. Set boundaries with people. Set boundaries with people. And I've learned from a very wise woman that I know that sometimes you got to set those boundaries and take a step back and know what's for you to do and what's not for you to do. And be able to say, this is not for me. I don't have to do this piece right now, or I don't have to do this piece at all. So understanding who you are, how you operate, and having that self-talk that can just give yourself grace today, Nicole. You know what? Today you got to be LeBron. Today you have to be LeBron. Tomorrow you can sit on the bench, but today you have to be LeBron. So just having those conversations, having people you can talk to, and taking care of yourself, and knowing what your bandwidth is gonna age me a little bit, but the dials on the radio, you can get to where the static is and you're lost in the static, or you can turn to where you find that calm station and know that this is okay. This is where the peace is. But you have to know those lines in between where you can and where you can't.
When should these conversations begin?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Absolutely yesterday. My mom started having these conversations with me when I was in my 20s, 30s. I didn't really get it, but now I know. Well, my mom's a nurse, so she's ahead of the curve. But I also know that she has now I understand why she started telling me these things. I'm not going in a nursing home. Y'all better figure it out. And so I had to have the conversation with my partner, like, if something happens to my mom, how would you feel about her living with us? And that was a very hard conversation to have. Having conversations with my 13-year-old. When mommy gets older, I want to travel a lot and I want to do certain things. Do you think you would be okay with me living with you? I don't know. Maybe. Depends on where I am. And so start putting the plug. But if you don't have children, who could I community with to be able to make sure that I'm okay? Or what cities, what spaces, what places are going to be available for me to move into to make sure that I'm taken care of. So the conversations need to be had right now. Right now, yesterday, 2 days ago, as early as possible. Because what if you're with somebody and you don't know, you thinking, oh, we're going to be good. You're going to take care of me. You're going to be able to, if I become incontinent, wash me and do all those things. And that person's like, that's not my bag. I don't know that I could do that for you. And you don't find that out until after the fact. That's hard. And it creates more resentments and more tensions. It's really hard. And everybody's got their own emotional thing that they need to deal with when these situations arise. It's going to change constantly. But if you don't talk about it ahead of time, then you're going to be someplace later that you didn't want to be. And that's really difficult. I see that. It's really difficult to be able to be in a place where you thought you would get what you needed from this person, not able to give it to you.
I guess, the practical tips of self-care, just, in terms of like making sure insurance is right, making sure, I guess when you're thinking about, okay, moving into a caregiving space, like those practical, like the health aspect sides of it, just for people just to know, like, you need to be thinking about this. I heard you mention, Medicare to, in the past. What are some practical things that people just need to, if you don't know about it, read up on it now, just so you can say, these are the things that you prepare yourselves for. What will be some of those practical things?
If you have a job that provides you with long-term care, look at it. If you have life insurance, understand what that life insurance will and will not cover.
Okay.
I have a call with my life insurance agent at 2:00. What will this cover? What will it not cover? How will this help my family later on? Do I have benefits that I can use while I'm living if I have a chronic condition? Do you have access to Medicare? Will you be able to qualify it? Do I have assets that are going to stop me from getting assistance later?
That part.
Do I need to put things in a trust right now? Do I have a will? Do I have a do not resuscitate if that's what I want? Do I have a healthcare surrogate? Does anybody know what my wishes are if something happens to me? And again, I will say, if it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. You want to do not resuscitate, it has to be on a specific form. In the state of Florida, that's a yellow piece of paper. Elsewhere, it might be a different color. Asking your doctor, what information would you need in order to talk to my loved one if something happens to me? We need a HIPAA waiver, or we need them to be your healthcare surrogate. At least one of them. Taking the time to find out what forms. There's 5 wishes, there's caring conversations, there's a bunch of documents. AARP has a wealth of information on caregiving and preparing life as a caregiver. The Administration for Community Living has resources. There's so many more resources now than there were before that people have to just tap in. So connecting with your local area agency on aging. Every state has one. Most communities have them with different counties. Like there's 5 counties maybe, or 3 counties, but there's an area agency on aging in your state. You can look up information from them. There's some cities and states have local aging resources. Orange County Department of Aging, Hillsborough County Department of Aging, whatever county it is, some of them have their own. If it's a smaller county, they may be connected to multiple counties, municipalities, wherever you are. Look into what your government has as a resource for information. Write everything down. Have it written down. Share it with somebody. Do not neglect to have it written down. The living will, the healthcare surrogate. Understand who could actually be your healthcare surrogate. Who's going to be able to make decisions for you in crunch time? My mama knew it wasn't going to be my brother's, and she needed to put me second. Her nurse friend is her primary healthcare proxy.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay with that because I know she's going to make the decisions that need to be made, and I'm the backup. I don't want to make those. Financially, I'm at the top of the list. Medically, I'm not at the top of the list. I'm okay with that. But people, you need to know the people that can do the things in your life, and you need to be able to say to these people, if something happened to me, would you be able to do X, Y, Z? And know that if they say no, ask them, could you be a backup to somebody else? So that way, because this is a trusted person in your life and they know you, could they help support somebody else that would be making those decisions? It's a lot to think about. There's a lot to do, but you can try to find someone like me. I will sit down with you and create the blueprint. Like this is one of the things I love. I love caregivers because I've been one and I understand both sides of it, academically, professionally, and personally. we can sit down. We can create your blueprint, create that document that you need. Oh, this is the list of things I need to be getting ready for. Yeah. Have a will. Let your kids know where those things are. Let your family, your people, give somebody that flash drive, somebody who's not in your house. Give it to them so that way you know, all right, keep this thing safe, or put it in a safe deposit box or a fireproof safe in your house. But let somebody else know. Somebody has to know. There has to be at least one other person who knows your business.
Got some more conversations to do.
I know. I know. It's like, you know, I would say things to my children in passing, you know, just in terms of, you know, okay, I got 3 of y'all. So, you know, 33% of the year is going to be spent at each one of your places. My oldest daughter is like, but no, I'm traveling with you. So that takes me out there. She's like, no, I'm riding with you. You know, we're nomads together. And I'm like, ma'am, I need you to be a part of the equation as well. But it's like, no, it's like seriously, maybe sitting down and having some more serious conversations now to say, you know what I would desire. And, you know, I know that not all of them are adults yet, but just to say, how can we wonder about this trajectory? You know, as I continue, you know, to age, as you know, my husband and I continue to age, to figure out what is this going to look like, you know, for us? What is it that we desire, you know, for ourselves too as well? Well, Dr. Crawford, you've given us a lot to think about. And I think for those who have not thought about it, those who are not in the role yet, just to know that this could possibly be on the horizon, and the conversations that we should have been having yesterday, I think you laid the groundwork for that. And for those who are in the midst of it, this concept of self-care, knowing what it is going to take to refill your cup. What does it take? And to make sure that you are doing that in the midst of it. And to know that even if, you know, your village is not necessarily a blood relative, it could be the services that are available in your community, you know, too, as well. So I think we will drop your information down there. People in our comments, if people need more guidance or they want to further the conversation, you know, with you, we're going to drop that information on how they can, you know, find you, you know, in the comments too as well. But anything, you know, in closing that you want to share with folks that you think is important, that folks need to know about caregiving and being a caregiver?
Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. A lot of people use the word, oh, I don't want to be selfish. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing what's in your highest and best interest so you can continue the roles that you have? If so, that's not selfish. And if you feel like it's selfish, go ahead and be selfish. That's okay too. But you have to implement strategies to make sure you are going to be okay for whatever the next thing is that you have to do. And take that to heart. I've learned the lesson the hard way. Please understand, take that to heart. Whatever it is you have to do to give yourself a few minutes space, few minutes, few hours, few days, self-care is not selfish.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crawford.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. And I hope that you got a wealth of information. Again, Dr. Crawford's information will be there for you to be able to reach out to her. So thank you. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.